saw a LinkedIn post from you yesterday, which I thought was cool. And this is going to be like a little bit of like podcast inception, I think, in a way. But you put out there that you've been podcasting for 8 years, 600 interviews, 500 episodes, which is insane. And I know you shared some kind of learnings along the way, but
Yeah,
congratulations. And I'd love for you to maybe hit some of those highlights on your experience and kind of what podcasting has meant for you in your career.
for sure. And thank you. It's a lot of practice. That's what that when I hear that, I think of how bad it started and how like it's almost like how it started. And what I will butcher the meme because I like you have new dad brain. So I will butcher the meme, but how it started is very different than how it's going. There we go. Stuck the landing. Yeah, I think we get a lot of things wrong when it comes to the shows we make, especially as marketers, because I think what we try to do is basically compete on topics. We try to say like, this is a show about this, and it's what we explore. And out of the list I published to LinkedIn and have talked about elsewhere or consulted on with brands, the number one thing consistently is premise development. And it's the same with your brand. It's having a brand story. Like your brand isn't built based on what you explore or what you do. What is the story? What is the premise? And the premise is not just topics, it's also your hook. So assume for a moment lots and lots of content and maybe even lots of competitive shows explore what you explore, the topics. That's not differentiating. That's not original. That's not your corner. You and I joked a little bit before the show about I'm rewatching The Wire. My wife hasn't seen it, so that's our new binge show. And so I was thinking in terms of like, that's my corner. Get off my corner. Like, that's what you want as a brand. If somebody were to create a show just like yours, they'd be laughed off the corner because that's yours. So a lot of these podcasts, especially in brands, especially in B2B, are not defensible because it's just covering a collection of topics. So what you want to do is combine what you explore with a very clear articulation of how you explore it, which in show running parlance would be called your hook. And that might be a playful or delightful gimmick or conceit or game mechanic, or it might be something grand feeling like a quest you're on to try and change something, or a belief system you're exploring and trying to disseminate. But what you explore plus how you explore it gives the audience a reason why they'd care. And the entire point of your show, the entire point of your premise is to provide motivation to do something for your audience. And the premise's job is to provide motivation to subscribe. And that's missing in so many marketers' shows.
I love that. And we're going to jump into the topic, but just want to kind of dive a little deeper on this because I'm interested in it. I think there's so much of B2B marketing is, one marketer or one company does something, someone else sees it and tries to replicate it. And it's like, then all of a sudden, next thing you know, there's a trend and everyone's doing the same thing and it gets oversaturated and watered down. And it sounds like what you're recommending and suggesting just in terms of the podcast medium is kind of counter to that counter to what we're used to. It's really taking a step back and thinking about what you want to represent as a brand, what you want to explore, what you want to kind of bring on guests or share your own insight on. And if you're able to do that right, people will come and listen because it's different. And that's really the start of using kind of a podcast to help build and develop your brand.
Yeah, if you were to white label your show or really any content, but let's stay at home with podcasts. If you were to white label your brand's podcast, remove the logo, remove the name, how am I going to know it's yours versus everyone else? Like the world does not need yet another show that claims to like go deep and get the actual details of how some successful people were successful. Like we don't need more of that. And we don't need more of the niche down version of that in your industry. What we might need is the show that only you can create. And the way we find that is not to look outward at the competition, is to talk to customers, all these pithy things you hear, but even more so, it's to look inward and say, what am I frustrated by in this niche? Or what am I endlessly curious about? Which, by the way, is often born out of frustration. It's like, this sucks. This is broken. Why? Who's done it better? Why is it this way? Why is it bad? How did we get here? What does history say? What does science say? Who can we learn from? And I think it's this like posture change that we're trying to make here. Instead of saying we're the experts and we're talking to the experts, it's we're explorers and we have a vision for where our community goes. And this is perfect in B2B because you're part of the community. You're participating, not just promoting stuff to them. And you say, I have a vision, or we as a company, we have a vision for what would be better for this community. And some people agree with it and a lot of people might not, but that's okay, because the people that agree really want to go with you on that journey of asking questions. That's the next episode, right? And then the episodes beget more episodes, questions beget more questions. So it's actually a really simple switch emotionally, which is stop trying to act like an expert and start trying to act like an investigator. And I think there you start to find what your premise might be.